of Quinte and the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services in the province of Ontario with another COVID-19 update from Queen's Park. Well, vaccines are continuing to roll out right across the province, and I would say right now, probably in the neighborhood of 14% of residents of Hastings and Prince Edward counties have received the first shot of their vaccination. We did see earlier this week that the number of individuals 75 plus are getting booked and getting in and getting the immunizations, and we're starting now to get those 70 plus in some parts of the province, and we're still waiting for the vaccinations to pour in. Now, we have word that there are going to be increased numbers of vaccines coming from the federal government, and there was an announcement that Moderna was going to be sending a whole bunch more by June, but I can tell you in talking with our colleagues at the Hastings and Prince Edward Health Unit that they're awaiting the shipments of vaccinations so that they can continue to get people in there through the immunization centers at Loyalist College, down in Picton at the arena there, and over in Trenton at the immunization there at the Dunk McDonald Memorial Arena as well. And I would say that while we have in the neighborhood of 13 to 15% of our population vaccinated, I should say, that's pretty similar to what we have seen in other parts of the province. Obviously, some health unit areas are far more populated, and they have received more vaccinations. But when it comes to the percentage of people who have received their vaccines, we're right there where we should be, kind of in the middle of the pack. We're also expected to start to see vaccinations rolling out at pharmacies across the Quinte region as well in the very near future. Still just the three different vaccinations that are being received here, or vaccines that are being received, the Pfizer and the Moderna, which we've had pretty much since the onset. AstraZeneca, there's still a lot of chatter about the AstraZeneca vaccine, and the National Advisory Council on Immunization dropped a bit of a bombshell recently, advising governments that those under 55 are not recommended to receive the AstraZeneca because they just don't have the information yet that they need to make sure that it's safe. So there's been a lot of hesitancy around that particular vaccine, and it is available for anyone 60 and over. As a matter of fact, on Monday this week, the Health Minister, Christine Elliott, received her AstraZeneca vaccination in front of all of the media to see. So, she is saying that it is safe for those 55 plus. The National Advisory Council on Immunization is saying that it's safe as well for 55 plus, but not recommending it for those under 55. So all of the information on vaccines is available at hpepublichealth.ca. You can get yourself in the registration portal there to receive the call for when your age group or your specific priority area is due to receive one of the shots. So go to hpepublichealth.ca for the latest on all the vaccinations and the clinics that are available, and get yourself registered to receive the shot. Also out of Hastings Prince Edward Public Health this week, our medical officer of health, Dr. Peter Oglaza, issued Section 22. And that means, in spite of the fact that we were still in the green zone, there are stricter measures now as a result of the health unit making this call. And the reason for it was, over the last weekend, we started to see a real rapid increase in cases here in the Quinte region. 9 cases on Saturday, 9 more on Sunday, 8 more on Monday. And because a number of those are the variant, and we are seeing increased transmission as a result of the variant, not the classic COVID as I call it, but the new UK variant, it is more transmissible than classic COVID. And so the medical officer of health made the decision to not allow for people to come into this region and receive personal services. You will have to show your ID if you go to a restaurant in Hastings and Prince Edward counties right now. You won't be able to stay at a local Airbnb or a short-term accommodation unless you're from this area. So a lot of different rules in place. Again, all of the details of the Section 22 that was issued by Dr. Oglaza available at hpepublichealth.ca. So we are continuing to work within that color-coded framework that the province has put out there, but obviously some increased measures at the request of our local medical officer of health, limiting other visitors to our area. And obviously, you know, the MO of the medical officer of health is to keep residents in Hastings and Prince Edward safe first and foremost. That is his mandate. We were out recently talking about the budget, which was delivered last Wednesday by Minister of Finance Peter Bethlenfalvy, and actually was in Prince Edward County earlier this week at a number of businesses that operate in the hospitality and tourism sector, just talking about some of the support programs that were available in the budget. And there's well over $200 million directly there for businesses, but there's almost $1 billion in supports for this sector when you consider its heritage, its sport, its tourism. It's also culture industries, and also faith-based organizations will be receiving funding as well as a result of Budget 2021, which included $51 billion of supports over the next 4 years. But specifically for those in the tourism sector, we talked about the fact that while they didn't qualify, or many of them didn't qualify for the original round of the Ontario Small Business Support Grant, because they weren't actually shut down during the lockdowns, they were permitted to stay open. But when you factor in that people weren't traveling to these different businesses, they were impacted. So we wanted to make sure there was $100 million available for those businesses. Also, the Ontario Small Business Support Grant, those who received an installment of between $10,000 and $20,000 in the first round of the grant approvals will be receiving a second installment. So if you receive $15,000 the first time, you'll receive $15,000 automatically to help keep you afloat. I'll tell you, cases are rising across the province. We've seen it. We're now up in the mid 2000s of cases per day. Again, many of them are still heaviest, or the hottest zones are in the GTHA, but there are increasing cases outside of the Greater Toronto and the Golden Horseshoe area into regions like Temiskaming and North Bay and Thunder Bay, and down into southwestern Ontario, and even here into eastern Ontario. So we are seeing the COVID virus, this latest variant, spreading faster. I just wanted to touch on a couple of the other items that were announced in last week's budget that impact the local area. There's free day passes for our provincial parks Monday to Thursday, not on holiday Mondays, but from Monday to Thursday, and that would include Sandbanks Provincial Park and Bay of Quinte, Bon Echo, up in Addington Highlands, and also Presqu'île Provincial Park. I know there's been some concern about this because of the huge crowds that have been gathering outside of the park gates in the summer of 2020. There is going to be a park management plan that's released in the next couple of weeks. I was just talking with our Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks today. That plan has been completed. They're going to be sharing that plan with the public in about 2 weeks' time. And I believe the minister still wants to come to Prince Edward County at Sandbanks Provincial Park to make that announcement. So there will be a plan in place to manage that kind of crowded and dangerous situation that existed outside the park gates last year, where cars would line up for hours and hours at a time. Also in the budget, there's support for families, another round of the Support for Families program. So if you've already received funding in the past, previously it was $200 per child, $250 if you had a child with a special need. It's now been increased to $400 per child. That's a newborn to grade 12. And if you have a child with a special need, that's a $500 payment this time around. So that will be coming to you automatically. Also, there's a training credit that's included in there. We realize there are a number of people that when the economy gets going again, will likely be looking to get retrained. So the retraining credit is for $2,000. So if you're thinking about a career change, well, this is the time to do it. There's a $2,000 credit available for you in there. There's also a seniors home safety tax credit, and that is up to 25% of $10,000 worth of eligible expenses, so up to $2,500 in a tax credit if you're looking to make some modifications to your home. And those are just a couple of the highlights that were in the budget. I was really pleased to see, as Minister of Children, Community and Social Services, a record investment when it comes to helping children with special needs, $180 million over the next 3 years for our children's treatment centers, to get them the treatment that they need and help alleviate the backlog that currently exists there. And also some major investments in our health sector with hospitals and long-term care as well. I've talked in the past about all of the investments that we've been making in new beds in long-term care, which was necessary. The fact that we have a human resources plan to attract more PSWs and nurses to this sector. But I think the one thing in last week's budget that really hits home for those who are supporters of our local hospitals, and it's the most important building in each of our communities, is our hospital, that we've been able to stabilize the funding formula for small and medium-sized hospitals and multi-site hospitals like we have in Quinte Healthcare with sites in Picton, Belleville, Trenton, and also up north in Bancroft. So we've been able to stabilize the funding formula for those hospitals, tackle the working capital deficits that they've been facing, and really putting them on a strong foundational footing. For all of the information on the 2021 budget, you can go to budget.ontario.ca. It's budget.ontario.ca. In the meantime, make sure you're staying safe, wearing your mask, practicing social distancing, continuing to wash your hands often, avoiding large crowds. Have a great Easter weekend with those closest to you, but be safe, Bay of Quinte. We want to stay in the green. We want to ensure that those in our community stay safe. So have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.